My name is Pat Bryan. I'm 66 years old. I live in Austin, Texas, and I make a living investing in real estate, but my passion is building offshore fishing rods and trading them for guys who own charter boats throughout the world. And I've been doing it for around 25 years. Basically, what I do is I will trade a fishing rod to fish on someone's charter boat, and they will receive the rods before I fish, and sometimes they get the rods 9 months in advance. And then I go over and fish whenever I can get there.
And do you ever sell rods at all?
I never have sold rods. I don't want to sell rods. I just want to trade rods. My favorite fish is a blue marlin or a black marlin.
Have you ever caught one?
Yes, I've caught several hundred blue and black marlin. My favorite places to fish are probably Cape Verde, Kona, Hawaii, and the Great Barrier Reef. My father was building rods because he liked to bass fish, and he taught me how to build rods. And this was in the early 70s. And then as far as figuring out how to trade rods, I went to Puerto Vallarta in 1975 and asked the captain of a boat and the owner if I could trade him rods and reels to fish on his boat, and he said yes. And a year later, I was down there with new rods and new reels, and that's how my trading idea got started. The main reason that I wanted to trade the rods with him was because the rods on his boat were absolutely terrible, and I didn't want to offend him. But I wanted some good rods on the boat while I fished on it. The biggest marlin I've caught was around 1,100 pounds, which I released in Kona. And I caught it with Mike Holtz, who was the captain, and it was on the Junkin Po, which is part of the Start Me Up charter fleet out of Maui, Hawaii. I would say over the years that I've probably traded rods to 15 to 20 different charter companies and individuals with their own boats. There's nobody that I know that does this. Most of the people that I know manufacture and sell them, but I don't want to do that. I just want to trade them. I've fished up to 6 weeks in 1 year. It just depends upon where my trades are and how much time I have. The friendships that I've built have been absolutely wonderful, and now I'm at a point where it's all word of mouth. In other words, I don't look for people to try and trade with. Someone who knows someone refers them to me, and if they've referred them to me and I've built them rods, I'll do it. And I've never had a problem making the trade work. I've really never gotten tired of building rods because I know in the end I get to fish with those rods and catch some fish.
That's good.
What I'm doing now is I'm putting tape on the end of each wrap in order to give me a smooth edged finish. And as you can tell, I put the rod in backwards in the chuck, and as the rod rotates, I can take the tape off and it's easier. Now I'm mixing up 20 cc's of finish as per the Flex Coat mixing video. Since this is my final coat, what I'm doing is using masking tape to remove any lint from the rod. Now I start between the guides because this is the hardest part to get smooth for me. And once I've done that, then I move away from underneath the guide and I'll use long, smooth strokes because I'm trying to level the finish out as much as I can, and it's a really, really heavy finish, and the reason I want that is because I want it to be thick and solid on the rod guides themselves. When I work towards the tape, I'm not really concerned about slopping it on the tape because when I remove the tape, then it's going to give me the straight edge that I want as far as the finish. I'm also using an 18 RPM motor with the slip clutch, which I really like because I can start and stop at any time and it gives me the smooth finish that I'm looking for. What I try and do is build these rods as fast and efficiently as I can, and one of the things that I've added to the rod that makes it more custom for the person who receives it is I put a label on it with the name of the boat or whatever name they want on the label, and they really seem to like this, and it personalizes the rod itself. I used to use 5 coats and they were thin coats, and I felt like it was taking me too long. Then I changed to 2 thin coats and 1 really, really heavy coat, and it gives me a really good finish and it doesn't take as long. and it's just as strong as the 5 thin coats. I've been building rods for years, and I love to put on the final coat because it just adds to the dressing out of the whole rod, and it looks really good. As soon as I get the finish on, I remove the tape and it gives me the clean edge that I'm looking for. Because I put the finish on so thick, I like to rotate the rod for a minimum of 4 hours.